Good afternoon. My name is Tumi Tladi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's get down to business, shall we? The business of today is a continuation of this series. It's a mini series, Web API, where in our previous video we did cover what is Web API. We did cover overview of Web API, where we looked at HTTP verbs or methods: get, post, put, and delete. We looked at the response type, particularly JSON. We looked at the contracts. We looked at controllers. Today we're gonna be doing, I believe, 5 sessions. So we're gonna start with AutoMapper. Now, some of these topics, they don't need me to ask Google or to research on the internet. We're not gonna do that, because when it comes to AutoMapper in Web API, particularly ASP.NET Web API, either for both .NET Framework and .NET Core, I have a video where I explain that in detail. Please watch my previous videos, particularly service provider called AutoMapper. So with that being said, let's get down to business. Well, today it's Friday, last day of the week. It has been to be honest, not long but short week. Cold week. 20th of August 2021. Time is 24 minutes after 2 p.m. So I have a Visual Studio ready, because we're gonna be spending most of the time in Visual Studio. Well, just a couple of minutes ago I was still busy with the V3 system, where I wrapped up part 38, and in total I have 37 commits in total, where now I was busy tampering with the controller. Speaking of the controller, let me just give you a sneak peek of what I was doing. So the first thing I was doing is I had to bring in the second parameter, string API key, and I had to do this condition: if API key is null, or if API key is not the one that I have already set up for this application. So I can't show you that, but if one of them is incorrect, I want to return explicitly internal server error. So this is the second thing. The third thing I do is that I now add the comments to Swagger for documentation, where I show that if in case you bump into 500 internal server error, it will say incorrect API key to access this resource. So this is what I've been doing to make sure that the controller now is good to go and secured. Okay, so let's close this. We won't need them anymore. And then let's hit commit. Okay, so that was the recap on what I was doing, right? Maybe I should push this because I'm done. What else am I gonna still need to do? Because I'm done with the V3 for all of them. Yeah, maybe we should go back to master branch and then push these changes. Now there are a lot, 38 in total, so let's go back to master branch. While I'm doing this, please note that I do have a series where I was focusing on control, or the version control. One of the topics on version control was branches, particularly master branch, and then I looked into branches, and then we looked into commit messages and making the changes, every single one of them. So I've been busy while this guy is loading. Oh no. Oh no. I hope I did not mess up with this Visual Studio, because it has a habit of being unresponsive. Okay, nevertheless, so if I go to desktop, there is a file. Here it is, version control series. Okay. By the way, unloading and loading projects, it's part of version control. It knows what it's doing. Okay, so this is everything that I covered on this topic of version control, from overview to the last video, where I'm still going to do part 4 of CI and CD pipelines. But we are done with CI, but we're going to focus on CD part of the pipeline using Azure DevOps. And maybe later on, I'm going to do the same thing on GitHub using GitHub Actions. I'm excited about this. I'm excited. Okay, this is done. So let's go and get our changes from Web API. Oh, the next thing I need to do the same thing now for .NET Core, version 3 system for .NET Core. But for now, before I focus on today's task at hand, let's make sure that the changes are going all the way up. Just for control, let's just open both GitHub and Azure DevOps. We won't need it at the moment, but let's just see the progress that we've been making so far. So the first tab I'm gonna open, come on Firefox, wake up. I'm gonna open GitHub, and then the second tab, let's wait for GitHub to load. Okay, I'm opening up Azure DevOps. So while these two babies are loading behind the scenes, let's see, do we have those 38 comments? Okay, so the topic of Web API, like I did cover in my previous videos for this series, that it's a preparation for the major series, that the moment I start to do that series, which is a Xamarin, where I focus on Android application, that particular application or project, and then what are the future plans for iOS. I want to make sure that you understand how Xamarin is able to make use of Web API seamlessly and easy. However, there's a lot of work that goes into Web API. There's a lot of work that goes into Web API, and it's not a joke. So that's why I'm making this mini series focusing on, certain topics. And while this is somehow loading behind the scenes, I don't know where the thing is. Okay, we are done with this one. We don't need it. But as soon as I finish these topics, we're going to get into detail. These are the actual endpoints, like the mobile applications making use of version updates, businesses, access pins, feedbacks, phone numbers, uploaded docs, voice messages, uploaded audios, lastly notification. But you should know something about my system, that the MVC part, not for the client but for the administrator, I have access to every single thing that comes from mobile application into the database and vice versa. So there is an admin part that looks at all the businesses, access pins, everything, because I'm administrator. So this is a big system. It's a huge system and not something that's very small. So Visual Studio, seriously, come on. There we go. Preparing the solution. Let's not tamper with this guy. Let's give this guy a couple of seconds to a minute or so that they can really wake up, because right now Visual Studio has been in an idle mode, probably sleeping. Okay, now we have all our changes. I'm just gonna hit push so that we can focus on GitHub to look at those changes and then what has been happening, because this YouTube channel, in fact, what it's been doing is that because developers have this habit of being lazy. There are some developers that they just need a title of lazy developers instead of a junior, intermediate, or senior. They are lazy developers. Programming, it's an art. This is not something that you want to take a day off and not do anything. Your brain is gonna go nuts. It's gonna not function very well if you intend to come back after some time. But what am I saying is, as I've been teaching on how I build my system identical docs, looking at different topics, making different series, I realized that when I bump into an issue, I get to fix it right away. So I've been busy also out of this channel. Since I started, I have built two ASP.NET Core Web API projects. The first one is SMS API. The second one is Email API. They are successfully been built, published, and deployed into production. I did explain that. Please watch my previous videos. I'm still waiting for this to push. It's still going. well, I believe it's going. So let's look at the output. Switch from build to our Visual Studio. But I can't blame it because it's been up from I think 8 a.m. I've been working from 8 a.m. but it has been in idle mode for an hour. I think I started to work around 9 a.m. So yeah. Come on, seriously now? It seems like we are wasting time with what's happening here, so I think we might need to close Firefox altogether so we can focus, because this is now, this is interesting. Unable to push because there's some stuff. Let's pull then push. Let's do 2-in-1. I did cover this in our previous series called version control because I remember making a change. It's a pity now it closed to GitHub. I remember making a change. In fact, I forgot about it. So now it's syncing. So let's give this guy a couple of seconds. Listen, the content on this YouTube is good. It's juicy, it's raw, it's fantastic. The only thing I'm gonna apologize for when it comes to this content on this YouTube, it's my computer being slowish. It's very slow. That's why I had to close those tabs in Firefox and shut down Firefox altogether so that can be performant. The second thing, well, I know my voice is good, but the second thing pertaining to my voice is that this English tends to run out of airtime, tends to run away. But I hope that as I make a mistake, you would be able to understand what I intend to say or make as a point at the time. But other than that, what you can expect here is a raw quality content where I do not hide anything, no do things prior. I do not research, I just come up with my own theory on what something is. Okay, so now this thing now it's really making me mad. What's happening? Because we already wasted 12 minutes. But trust me, once we get to AutoMapper, you can fast forward. But once we get to AutoMapper, it's going to be something that really helped me a lot as a developer. This computer. Okay, so let me see exactly what's happening behind the scenes, because the thing is I don't like to edit the videos. I really don't like to edit the videos. I like things being raw and then unique, if you will. So what's happening? Come on. It's not about the task I'm doing at hand, it's my computer. I know it's quite slowish. Welcome back. Look at the disk. It's been running wild. Yeah, if the disk is this high, yeah, I should expect things to be a bit slowish. Did it successfully sync? Yes, it did. Check something else. If I try to do the same thing when it comes to Azure DevOps, it's going to tell me the same thing. So let's push. I need to do this before I begin the work, unfortunately. But for some of you that haven't watched my previous series on version control, these are the things that you need to do before you go further. So I need to make sure that there's nothing. But you're gonna see something interesting. There's gonna be one incoming commit because I made a change on GitHub. That's why it had to sync. I also made a change on that one. Yeah, the change that's coming is actually wrong because I had to make a change on Android application for Xamarin. This here should see the output. Before we do that, let's fetch from Azure DevOps because there's something that needs to come down from Azure DevOps. But they said I should look at the output. I tried to do this. Failed to push to. It says it found 6 objects to send. And then it recognized there's a new branch on Azure DevOps, yes. But why did this one? It says while pushing to the remote repository, rejected updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. Yes, I know that. But that's what I'm trying to do. Fetch from Azure DevOps, initiating fresh. So what happened with me fetching? Where are those guys? Previously you said you were fetching, yes, and you found something. So where are those guys? And let's do pull from Azure DevOps. But where are those changes? It's supposed to show me something. I think he knows about them. But here's the thing though, that's scary about this thing that's happening right now, is that Visual Studio, I think there may be a bug because the 0 outgoing and 0 incoming, it seems like it's working primarily and then beautifully with GitHub, but not with Azure DevOps, and that's the problem. You see, only now it's reflecting. Okay, then let me push these ones first to, come on, these two. It's an actual commit and a pull request that I merged from master to soy branch on Azure DevOps. Yes, that one I know. But I was saying those numbers, now that it showed that there were 2 outgoing, it's like it's only in sync with the GitHub. And you saw with GitHub, it says that, hey, listen, you need to pull before you can push. But with Azure DevOps, it says it failed, and then they tell me about I should look at the output, blah, blah, blah. This is ridiculous. So I feel like it's not flexible in this regard. The question is Microsoft aware of this? Because they are the ones via Visual Studio team, been doing these things. I'm still gonna get to AutoMapper for Web API. Somehow I forgot that this is a lot of work to do, but I'm not gonna switch branches. I'm gonna stay on master branch. You see, now I can't even tamper with Visual Studio because it's doing some stuff behind the scenes. This is ridiculous. How long is it gonna take for it to restore these NuGet packages? I hope you're being patient with me, but this is part of me being raw. I told you I'm not gonna hide anything. I did explain that there are gonna be some issues. I did highlight the audio, but the audio I know is good. But I did also highlight that the issues are gonna be with the Visual Studio, especially this updated version. Okay. I want to do something. Let's wait for this guy to really wake up because he's doing some stuff that are funny. Because there are still ongoing commits. It may not show here, but there's a 38 of them that still needs to go to Azure DevOps. If you have been paying attention, I'm hoping that you have been. So I'm just going to trigger this action. Come on. So now I can push to Azure DevOps, and then I'm gonna go back. Okay, now let's talk about AutoMapper. So here's the thing about AutoMapper. I'm gonna focus on both .NET Framework and .NET Core, right? So that's what I'm gonna be doing. So let's prepare .NET Core version of this web API. So AutoMapper, that's the topic. The first thing that you need to notice that I have a folder called AutoMapper. This is a best practice in my world. Also, I have a folder called AutoMapper. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I have a NuGet package installed for AutoMapper, and you can see which NuGet package is relevant. How do you register AutoMapper? Funny enough, I don't think you register AutoMapper. Let me confirm for the .NET Framework. I really don't think you register AutoMapper, because do you? No, for the .NET Framework, I don't think you do. No, you only register Fluent validation. And there's a video that's coming for validations where I'm going to be talking about Fluent validation. Stay tuned for that one. Visual Studio. Okay, no. So it seems like you do not register AutoMapper. Speaking of registration, but on .NET Core, you do register it. It's on the installers, and now I will talk about installers. There's a video schedule for installers. Here it is, especially for .NET Core. So I have a class specifically for AutoMapper, because this is very important. This is how you register AutoMapper in .NET Core. But in .NET Framework, you do not register it. So this is how you do it, but I'll explain how and why this file is independent, this AutoMapper installer. So I'm just saying services.add AutoMapper, and then I'm like, go and get the entire domain, get all the assemblies for the entire domain. So that's how you register it. So now you know. Okay, what's next? Now that folder of AutoMapper, because the version control is a version system, v1, v2, v3, and on the .NET Core we have v1, v2, because I'm still going to do version 3 on this project from Monday. So let's focus on v1. So if I want to go for general, I'm going to use the feedbacks as an example. So you see now the convention. So whatever it is, at the end I have profile. So this is what you need to do. Okay, so this is what I have, right? Now what happens is that this class, just make sure that it has profile. It's not a must, but it's a best practice, because it inherits from profile, and profile provides a named configuration for maps. Naming conventions become scoped per profile, and then the only thing that you need is a constructor, and then what you need is to create a map. And like I said, we did this extensively in our previous video, but what it does, it creates a map configuration from feedbacks type to get all feedbacks response v1 type. That's what I do. And there's a vice versa, where I create a map from post 1, this way from the mobile application. This is the one that comes from mobile application into the database through web API. This one comes from database. This one comes from database, now going to the mobile application. We'll demo this in live. So this is in .NET Framework, okay? So let's close to keep it clean, because I'm not going to show all of them. I'm just showing how AutoMapper is being utilized. And we go back now to v1, and we open general feedback. You see the same class name, and then the same thing, the name of the profile, and then it inherits from profile. And this is how I still create the same logic for mapping the types using the constructor. So now you know. Okay, now the question is, how do I implement this? That's a good question. Let's wait for Visual Studio to wake up. I told you the content is good. So that's the first thing. But how do we make use of it? Let's start with .NET Framework. If I go to controllers, web API, v1 general, you see that there's a feedbacks underscore v1 controller. I'm gonna open this guy, and we're about to start it in not in detail, but just to give you a high level overview. So obviously I have using AutoMapper, there it is. Now when it comes to get all, which is this profile, doesn't matter if, okay, let me use this one. This one we are using, it's going to use this map because we are getting them from the database into this object, right? So that's what we have here on this endpoint, get all. So what I do basically is that, listen, this is what we're gonna be returning, right? I have to instantiate this object to be returned as a list. As you can see, a list of get all feedbacks response v1. And what I do, I just say var mapper configuration, new mapper configuration. It takes in options. That's where we add the profile. Do you see which one? Feedbacks underscore v1 profile, and it knows how to map everything. From there, then we create the actual mapper, and to say that mapper configuration, let's now go and create the actual map. And then from there, this is what we're gonna be using as a single object, or as a single object, right? It comes in as an object. And then what we do is that we're gonna loop inside of this list, and then we're gonna add, or where we added one single item into this list that we're about to return. Using this is how we map. There's an item that gets to be represented, you know, and then this is how we use, you know what, let's map this guy. That one from database, as you can see, if I hover, see it's feedbacks. We're creating from it into this guy. Let's look at this. Executes a mapping from the source object, which is what comes in this case items, to a new destination object. The source type is inferred from the source object. So this is the source and there's a destination, and then we are adding that into a list, and then we get to return it. But we'll break this in detail when we do feedbacks. We'll break that into detail when we get to feedbacks video. Now, however, there's something interesting because in .NET Core is different. v1 general feedbacks underscore v1 controller. And now this way, now I'm gonna bring the .NET framework underneath. So this is .NET framework down here. There's .NET Core. So with .NET Core, it's very important because we're using depends injection, and this is depends injection video. We'll talk about that. So this is what we are using, a constructor injection to say go and get us feedback. Okay. No, depends injection is not relevant here. Sorry, depends injection is not relevant. No, it is relevant. It is relevant because how in fact, look at this. Yes, depends injection, because when we look at this get all feedback, there's nothing that suggests an AutoMapper in here because everything now it's on the services. So we'll come back to it in detail. v1 general feedbacks. So do you see this feedback service where we are just getting all the feedbacks? I don't care about it. I want the implementation of that, which is it's on this class. You see, we are inheriting from this guy. Now this is where now AutoMapper now comes in. This is .NET Core. Private read only iMapper, this is mapper, and then we're using depends injection again to map that, right? And then what we do, this is how we get to utilize it to say, listen, for us to send back all the feedbacks, you see, it's asynchronous, and then we're gonna return a list of get all feedbacks response v1, the same as this one. This is what we return, right? And what we do is that, listen, you go see feedback. We're gonna say now, listen, go. No, this is post. I don't want post. I want get. Okay, this is what we're gonna be retaining. We just need to instantiate the object. So we're gonna go to feedbacks, get all of them based on the conditions. Once we have them, and then each item, which is the source, we're gonna map it into destination, and then we're gonna add that to a list. So this is AutoMapper in a nutshell. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it clarified certain things. I'm sorry that the video had to be long because I was doing something very important, you know, as part of the goodness. As you can see now, everything is it's good to go, except that there are some changes that were modified and I'm aware of them. But I'll take a look at the changes offline. No, not now. So please stay tuned for the next video. It's going to be quite interesting. You don't want to miss out the next video where we're going to be looking at validators. We are looking particularly at this Nuke package called Fluent Validation. With that being said, thank you very much. I'm really sorry again for any inconveniences that this might have created. With that being said, let's meet again on the next video in the next session. Thank